Welcome to the Underpowered podcast, gaming podcast where we battle our backlog, revealing what is worth your time, money, and energy. My name is Shelby Stokes, and on today's cast we have Phillip, Karen.
Hello.
And Dr. Zubat. I muted them before we came in. They were so muted.
Yeah, caught me off guard.
Did you know that the mute was coming?
Oh man, we deserved it with the way we were getting warmed up for this.
This is true. Okay, so the title of this episode is Oregonzola because it's a fake cheese from a fake place called Oregon. And Phillip has a background in cheese, so he just walked us through the fact that this is not a fake cheese.
That's true. It is not a fake cheese. It is actually a very delicious cheese. I'm not going to be a salesman here, but I highly recommend it. Look, man, blue cheese is one of those things. Either you're all in on blue cheese or you're all out on blue cheese, I think. What do you guys think? In or out?
I'm all in, man. I'm all in.
I'm all in. People that don't trust blue cheese, I don't trust. No, they don't exist. There's no way.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. That's just, sometimes there's a little funk and you're just like eating it, and the mushroom funk I can deal with, but blue cheese, not feeling it.
Dude, have you ever dropped a little blue cheese on a steak though?
I wreck a good steak, dude. That's blasphemy.
This is why you need to move to Oregon to gain an appreciation for this blue Oregon cheese.
I know, and have people pump my gas too. Yeah. So.
But how Oregon can't just take a cheese? They can't just call it Oregonian cheese and then just roll with it. Like there's got to be some patent pending on it, right?
They did it, dude.
It's done. It's in my
it's there's a copyright on it. That's it.
Wait, where do you buy this Oregon cheese? How do you say it? Oregonzola.
Yes.
Oregon.
Yes.
Where do you buy Oregonzola cheese?
Anywhere.
From Phillip? Is Phillip selling it on the street? Just like
literally down the street in your Safeway, in your 7-Eleven, Shelby. Like, man, not even looking at cheese. It's already, bro.
Yeah, forget that hot dog game. We gotta get out there with that Oregonzola, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's rough, dude. That's so gross.
Well, like, before we move on, Phil, I got to note, you're not like a blue cheese bacon burger guy?
Okay, so look, when I go to Red Robin, I get the guacamole bacon burger. But yes,
like
I'll do the fried egg.
Okay.
I'll do California. I'll do the fried egg on the burger. I'll do the caramelized onions on the burger. Blue cheese, man. Blue cheese is just so dominant. It just takes over everything. I mean, the burger becomes a vessel for getting blue cheese into your mouth.
Which I'm totally okay with. That is what I'm here for. Yeah, put it on just about anything. I don't guacamole on a hamburger. Like what?
Dude,
I don't know. Waiting where he's like, you don't mix Mexican and continental, isn't that?
No, we gotta pause. We might have to just pause the stream and get this sorted out behind the scenes before we dive into gaming news, because there's clearly a divide here, which isn't going to be crossed.
Dude, there's some mean guacamole though, and anytime I read Red Robin, I'm always happy. You know what I mean? Give me some fries, give me some of that campfire sauce on the side. You know what I'm here for.
Well, listen, Red Robin tried to do this thing, right? Red Robin tried to do this thing. I don't know if you've been there frequently enough, and as a dad, I'm there definitely frequently enough. It's like once a month, Sunday, 4:00 in the afternoon. We're not cooking dinner. We're going to Red Robin.
Yeah, dude, but they did this. Your kid.
Why? I mean, here's the thing with kids menus. It doesn't matter what restaurant you go to. They have the same 4 choices everywhere.
No.
It's
your chicken macaroni or chicken nuggets. Those are your options. Yes. Those are your
burger,
options.
mac and cheese, chicken fingers, or pasta. Those are your choices. It doesn't matter. It could be Italian. It could be sushi. It doesn't matter where you go. Those are your same 4 choices.
And you know how disappointing is when they roll out with like the fancy macaroni and cheese and hand it to your child, and you're just like, why? Why would you try to go fancy with mac and cheese? Just give me the macaroni that's from Kraft. It's got that fake yellow about it. Just put it in front of my child. I'm gonna look disapprovingly at them the entire time, and we'll move on.
Yeah, we actually had that experience the other day where we went to a restaurant and they all their only choices were like butter noodles or Alfredo. So my son orders the Alfredo, and he hasn't really had a cream sauce before, and he looks at it and he puts one noodle in his mouth, and he was like, there's no way this is gonna happen for me. So we had to send it back and get just the plain butter noodles. But oh man, Holy cow! I totally lost my train of thought.
Wait a second. So your kid is already sending food back to the kitchen?
Oh, he's that guy. He's like, he
Oh,
knows
God.
what he knows, and he's like, dude, this isn't the chicken fingers from Red Robin. I don't know what scam you're trying to pull. But Red Robin went through a phase, right, where they were trying to be fancy for a while, and they literally just gave up. They had the little tin cups, and they had all of the fries stacked in the cup. Remember that? It was for like a year, and they were like, "Oh, dude, look, we're gonna elevate our game." And then you could just literally see it on the servers' faces. They just gave up. They just literally pulled the ring off, and they were like, "F it. How many fries do you want? We'll just cook them for days. We have 30 pounds of fries just cooked in the back, just sitting back there." So
that was my last experience with the tin cup, and I was like, you're gonna be tired with how many times you're gonna have to go to the kitchen and back. Like,
yeah, it's just like back the wheelbarrow of French fries up. We're not trying to kid anybody. Just bring them here. You can even put them in my mouth for me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like I am here for the unlimited fries.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like that's exactly right. It's like there's a certain place where you can try to convince me that this is more food than it really is. This isn't that place. Like I know 10 fries when I see 10 fries. Even if 10 fries are standing up, it's still 10 fries. So I hope you got your running shoes on because I am starving and I've had a long day.
Did you notice that like during the pandemic, they were just like, forget it. We're doing pizza now because we don't have anything else going on. So all of a sudden they're like, order our pizza. We're like, no, you don't get to do pizza as well. Your burgers and fries.
Wasn't it IHOP that did the same thing where they changed it for like a week and everybody, literally the internet was like, get out of here, dude. Like you're not, they were like the International House. They were changing it to IHOP, wasn't it? And it was like the International House of Burgers. And everybody was like, no, get like, we know what you're about. Just stop. And a week later, they changed all their marketing and everything. They were like, okay, you're right. We're going back to pancakes. Oh, man.
Oh, IHOP. No one leaves a hype IHOP proud either. Like they're a little ashamed of themselves.
Look, man, if there's a couple chains that are on my do not fly list, especially at 35 years old now. Denny's and IHOP are on that list. Sherry's is not on that list, however, because I haven't been to Sherry's in a long time, but if I am going to go to a place and get the Grand Slam breakfast, I don't care where you're at. It's called the Grand Slam breakfast.
Dude,
which is the pancake, sausage, bacon. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. I try it at Sherry's like, oh, can I get the Grand Slam? I'm like, dude, we don't have that here. Just get the combo platter. It's the same thing. So if I go to Sherry's, every table is a booth, right? And I can sit there and I can eat my 3,000 calories in breakfast peacefully to myself, as opposed to being in an open cafeteria, which is the Denny's or the IHOP, where we have to all look at each other eating our eggs and our sausage and our bacon and our little orange slice, as if that orange slice is somehow going to redeem us from all of the other sugar and calories that we just ate. But I haven't been in a long
of that
time.
list. I'm taking Sherry's because you never have to look embarrassed when you leave there with a pie. You know what I mean? Like I might get hungry on the way home. I got to get me some of this chocolate pie at any moment. You know what I mean? Or we'll just sell you the whole pie. That's fine. Don't take a piece. Take the whole thing. We're fine with that.
Yeah, I haven't been in a long time. It is good. It is there. There's no guilt in it either.
Sure,
if they're right there, I mean, here.
You haven't been there in a long time. Sure, you haven't.
Time is relative, right?
Yeah. Very important pie eater, VIP card. All the pies, all the time. Sometimes on this cast we talk about video games. Other times we talk about food. Let's talk about some video games. Dr. Z, you and I have been playing a little game called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's pretty dang good.
It's true. I'm having a blast.
Like way better than I expected it to be. Can we say? Like I was kind of expecting this to not be all that great, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. Pun intended.
All right.
Did you see what I did there? You see how I punned it up?
I was like, where's it going? Wow, yeah, wonderful. Like the gameplay is fire. I love how goofy it is. I will say I have completely lost the thread of the story. Like I'm running through, I'm blowing up skeletons, I'm getting more loot, but I'm not quite sure why anymore.
Well, I was going to lean on you because I have no idea what's going on in the story. And we started it together, and you're like, yeah, come join my game. I'm like, okay. And she's just screaming at me, skeletons coming down. There's a unicorn named Butt Stallion. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's that.
Princess Butt Stallion, right?
Yeah.
And I think that might be the best name ever created. Yeah, spoiler alert for the first 10 minutes of the game.
And I know some people don't like Tiny Tina. Do you fall into that camp?
Me, no, I don't mind her. Like, is she obnoxious? Yeah, but that's totally her character. She's like over the top and yells all the time, and yeah, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm down with that. Why not? I think some people are probably like, yeah, it's a little over the top, but dude, it's a video game. Like, let's not take this too seriously. And humor in video games is very difficult, I find. So I'm a big old fan of Mr. Butt Stallion.
Does the game go? Does the game go between first and third person?
No, you're always in first person. Well, actually, no, that's not true, Phil, because there's actually an overworld that you go to, which is kind of like a D&D board sort of thing, I guess is how you would describe it. So when you're doing the combat, you're in first person, like a normal Borderlands game, but then you'll like traverse from area to area in that like overhead view sort of thing, moving your character around. And you can find quests up there. There's other characters. You can also be attacked, which then pulls you into like a first-person instance. And I don't know. I've been enjoying that. It's like a fun little break and gives it that more board gamey or D&D feel, way more than the last Tiny Tina Wonderland game.
Yeah, and we actually played that before we played this one, kind of in anticipation of this launch coming out. And this is obviously a better package overall. And if you compare this one to the old one, the graphics are way better. And the spells and the abilities are way more built out as well. Like, I really feel like I'm playing a character, whereas before it didn't really feel like a character mattered. You know what I mean? Like, just like one around, shoot things, like pop off your ultimate once in a while. But this, I really feel like you have to strategize on the way you're playing it.
There's also a lot of cool character creation stuff that you can do. So like one of my favorite things right now is collecting the different like facial features or color palettes and then making my guy, right? And you can do some wacky stuff. So like right now, my dude has like a red like metallic gem face, like, and then I have a nice red pinstripe battle armor that's silver and a very nice like hat with a feather in it. My guy is like all like dressed in the nines, going out there and killing goblins. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, the character creator is ridiculous. My character looks ridiculous. My character's name is Helga, and she is not so great. She has big old pink hair and is pretty darn ugly. So mission accomplished.
I noticed that I noticed the art design. I was saying this before the stream, but the art design is very similar with the shading to that of Borderlands. Which when I first played Borderlands, the very first one, I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of a hater. I was kind of a hater, and I said like, oh, why am I gonna play this weird cell shaded game and like. This is like going back to but I actually really like it, and I actually really like this kind of art design. So I think I would probably be into this.
It's awesome, and it's really good for co-op. Like if you're into a co-op looter shooter, like this is probably one of the better ones I played in a while. We played, what was the other one we played, Dr. Z, which was Outriders. That was the last co-op one that we really tackled. I think this is a lot better loop. And maybe it's because it's a first-person shooter, not a third-person. But I am sticking with this game where I didn't think I would. I thought I would just come in and play it socially, but I'm finding myself wanting to play it solo. I did run into a little bit of a gating issue, I think, because I was playing co-op and went back and played it single player. And I think I needed somebody else to help me to get the next teleport state. But for the most part, like I can forgive it. Like I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it.
My biggest critique is actually the graphics. So like they look great when they're rendered, but it takes quite a bit of time for all of the textures to actually load into a level. So oftentimes like you'll get to a new place, you're walking up to chests and they're just like the pattern is all messed up, the textures aren't there. even with characters too, like the characters will be all messed up until like all of a sudden they load in. So that's my biggest gripe.
Yeah, and it does feel old in spots. Like the inventory management feels a little dated. You know, you're kind of going through, picking up what you can, and then having to resell it. And some of those systems feels like they could have been a little bit. They could have been rejuvenated a little bit. It feels like seems one to how it was, and maybe I'm just misremembering it. But for the most part, it feels like they could have innovated on that a little bit. I'm also getting into some loops where I keep just like finding a whole bunch of gear and nothing is better than the stuff I have on. But I'm sure that's just a part of the process, right? You always want that next thing, and they got you running for it all the time.
Okay, yeah. Here's my gripe. Okay, I'm gonna have my soapbox, and then I'm gonna be done with it. Okay, looter shooter games in general, right? They have to figure out, I think, what to do with end game status, because I have played games where 80-90% of the loot that you encounter is like, I'm never going to use this, right? Like you encounter one meta and then you're like, this shotgun is literally going to carry me for the next 13 levels, and then I really don't need anything else, so why am I grinding to get this new thing, unless it's like cosmetic, right? Like, oh, I want to have when I played Diablo a lot, I played Diablo 3, it was the same thing, right? It was like, oh my God, another sword, another thing. And I'm like, oh God, here, just like going through my inventory, just clicking. I actually told a funny story yesterday, which was this. I had a buddy who had never played Elder Scrolls before. And he had never played an Elder Scrolls game before. And I love how you can highlight that. He's mad because on our last stream that we did, he had to go do some things and he missed my soapbox from the last episode, and he didn't get to chime in on it. But I actually told this story to him last night. I had a buddy who had never played Elder Scrolls, and so we played. I showed him Oblivion, and we sat down, and they do the opening cave where you just kill some rats or whatever, and then you learn all the controls, and the game opens up into the open world. And this guy, he didn't understand loot management systems, so he picked up, and I'm not joking, he picked up 13 short swords from that cave and became over encumbered, and then refused to drop any of them, and then slow walked for 10 minutes to the nearest town to sell them all. And I'm like, dude, just drop one sword. There's 1,000 short swords. You don't need them anymore. Just get rid of one, and you'll move at normal speed. So I don't know. What is your guys' feelings on loot in loot games, loot shooting games?
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah,
Phil
blah.
comes from the chat. My thing is like I have to set parameters for myself. It's like if I can see gear and I know that it's going to be worth X amount of dollars, I will grab that gear and then go resell it. But what I found in this game is I have to start setting like minimum. Like, okay, I'm not going to get anything that is going to retail me less than $250. I think I'm at like 300 gold right now. So anything over 300, I'm keeping. Anything under, I'm not. And then if you get tired of the process of running back and reselling, I just up that number a little bit. So that's kind of how I've been trying to gate it. But back in the day, like Oblivion status, I would collect everything. And then I dropped you drop like the lightest thing you could until you got just under that number, and then fast travel away and get it all sold off.
Yep,
for sure.
I agree. I'll be damned if I'm going to be over encumbered. That's not happening. I'll drop however many wheels of cheese it requires. I'm dropping it.
Dude, you gotta hold on. You gotta hold on to that Oregonzola. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Oregonzola retails like a mother. People want that.
I will say for Tiny Tina, what I've done is I've invested a lot of cash in extra spots for my backpack, so I have to unload less frequently. And I've just been doing it by color. Like it does a similar thing to most games or MMOs where it's like green is the worst, and then you've got your blues and you've got your purples. So I'll just unload all my greens, all my blues.
I gotta tell you though that those like swords, those like common swords, retail for like 500 gold. So you gotta be watching that. Gotta watch those common swords, man. You get that broadside little peep sword.
I'm tossing them. I'm tossing them.
Don't you dare! Don't you do it! Don't you toss them.
That's more like it for me, dude. I'm notoriously known in playing video games where, especially open world games like Borderlands or anything where you're exploring, where like I am so locked in on the main quest that I don't even explore half the shit. Like I was playing with a buddy and he was like, dude, I can't play with you anymore. And I'm like, why? He's like, dude, you haven't even looked at anything that's going on the level. You're not grinding any of these caves. You're already on to the next part of the main quest. So, dude, if I don't see it, if it doesn't look cool, I'm gone. I drop it immediately. Don't need it.
Dude, that's smart because I don't think I ever finished Skyrim for that reason. I got like halfway in and it's like, I got to do every side quest. And then I never saw credits. Like, and I've started that game 2 or 3 times, I want to say.
Well, Skyrim got a little weird, right? There's like some weird areas in Skyrim where you're like in this sort of fantasy world with like dragons, a typical like Elder Scrolls type thing. And then there was that weird like underground level with like all the mechanical machines. And I was like, what is going on down here? This doesn't even feel like it's part of the same game.
No, that felt straight out of Lotro, like Lord of the Rings for sure. Like, is it Minas Tirith? Come on, Dr. Z. I know you know.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Sure. You yeah-yad me. I just got straight up yeah-yad. I get it.
Check
Okay.
this out. I'm part of the fellowship, bro. It's like,
I don't even know what that is. Like, what is that? What is
Get out
that?
of here.
See?
Phil, you know what I'm talking about? I'm not even going to go there with you. This is a
I
video
know.
game podcast.
I don't.
Lord of the Rings podcast.
I never really appreciated Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I saw that post going around social today. It's like, The Hobbit is 10 years old, and I was like, shoot, I should probably go back and watch The Hobbit. That was my favorite book in the series.
Wait, you didn't-
Don't tell you that book is a lot older than 10 years, bro.
No, the movie. The movie.
You don't appreciate the Lord of the Rings? You're not feeling it?
I'm just not feeling it.
Oh man, what is going on here? Listen, I can get why you don't appreciate the Hobbit films because
Yeah.
they were just trying to make money off of those. Like
Well,
they
I
just
think that's
added
the
in
word
they
for
added
it.
in some weird romance. Like what the hell is going on here with like the elf? Like was it like the elf and someone else? And he's like, dude, you just got a bunch of big name actors and you like wanted to add like this. The pacing of the book of the Hobbit is way different from the pacing of the Lord of the Rings when you read the books. You know what I mean? Like the Hobbit is like slow and there's like a lot of like songs in it and like a lot of poetry and there's like a lot of detailed scene descriptions and they tried to make it into this action film, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy, oh man, I don't know how you could sleep on that.
I've been sleeping on it. I think I had to read it in like junior high. Got halfway through it and was like, I'm not really absorbing this. You know, I think it was like 6th, 7th grade, and was like, nope, and then just never went back to it. And I saw the films. I'm like, okay, cool. They're killing orcs. Like, I'm down for that. Aragon, sure.
So Shelby, I do know though that you
Yeah.
do like the Lord of the Rings related games.
This is true. I really liked Shadow of Mordor. It was really good. But
Yeah,
the
I would say
Rings,
underrated for sure.
I would agree, yeah. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't say like Lord of the Rings is the reason that game was good. I would say that game was good because of the what is it, the Nemesis system, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But speaking of wonderful games, you're playing Cuphead, Phillip?
Yeah, so, like I told you last stream, you inspired me, right? When I watched your stream with Hitman and the crowbar and killing all those people in that little pavilion with the crowbar.
Just
I
gotta
had
whip out your crowbar and show it off. You know what
I know,
mean?
and I was I had such a good laugh when I was watching that, so I started streaming again. But yeah, I don't know. I just like torturing myself, I guess. Cuphead is I haven't watched the show, but it's hard, man. It's hard, and my old ass can't be like I can't even be remembering all of these like attack patterns. So when I'm on stream, I'm like, dude, I literally will start the stream off and I'll say, dude, you're just gonna watch me die for an hour because I can't. The game's amazing though. It's the art is unlike anything else. It's hard even on regular, right? The regular. I mean, if you put it on simple, just turn it off. But it's cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I really like Cuphead. Illegal Immigrant Gaming says, I hate Lord of the Rings. Phil hates Sherry's. Now, Dr. Z, what do you hate?
That's a good question, actually.
Don't dare him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Doctor Who. I can't get down with Doctor Who.
You don't like Doctor Who?
I think Captain America is trash across the board.
Whoa. Why? Why Captain America?
Goody two shoes. Like, what does he do?
He
throws
throws a
his
shield.
shield.
He
Like,
throws a
come
shield.
on.
My wife would actually agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
What like
well, she's a smart woman.
Captain America is overrated. Oh my goodness.
These two goody two shoes.
What is the appeal of Captain America?
America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. America, which probably, no comment there. He throws a shield. That's his one job, is to throw a shield.
He does.
I mean, he was cool. Okay, listen, he was cool for me. The only time I like Captain America is in Marvel vs. Capcom. If you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom, the fighting game with the 3 different characters, right? You get to pick your 3 characters and fight with them all simultaneously. In our house, we like to do for whatever reason, we like to walk around and say catchphrases. So right now, my son is walking around saying GG. So for my son, for Captain or Oregonzola, which will now be after this stream, for Captain America, if you didn't know what his catchphrases were, which I'm assuming you don't, because it's random, they are the following: shield slash, and he just says it over and over again, and you can just spam it, or charging star. So when I showed my son this game, he would just walk around the house and say those phrases over and over and over again. That's the
charging star. What a
charging
lame
star
thing to say.
Because he's got the star on his shield, man. He runs after them. It's a literal translation.
Okay,
charging star.
Dr. Z actually has a point. If he has to charge a star every time he throws the shield, this is stupid.
Plus, why would he only have 1 star when he could have like up to 50? Like, why doesn't he do 50-star charge? Like,
I can't argue with that.
Like the Kamehameha.
He has more stars. Yeah, because he has to collect all the stars in order to get the Dragon Balls to activate. Isn't that how that works?
Get the Dragon Balls to activate.
Yeah, that's the only way you can go Super Saiyan. I just thought you didn't like Captain America because you can't do this all day. See what I did there?
Yeah, I did. I did like
See what I did there? Cuphead is a fabulous game. You should all play it. It's really good. It's a 2D platformer. It's hard. It's very hard. Which upgrades are you going with? Are you going with the Seeker? Are you going with like the normal pew pew gun? Like what's
Yeah, right now I'm only on the second. Okay, I've only played it for like 10 hours. I'm on the second. I've never made it past 40% complete. Honestly, because I just have a low attention span and I get bored and I'm like, let's move on to the next game, to be honest with you. But right now I'm doing just the normal pew pew gun and then whatever the weird. It is kind of weird because he's like a soda. So then he jumps sideways and does the weird thing where he just like rains soda on people, which I think is kind of weird. But like also you're playing a 2D platformer weird video game. So I think it's in context. But yeah, it's fun. Co-op. You can do it co-op. You know what I mean? Also, I think for me, right, I only have an hour, maybe a night to play games. And when you only have that amount of time, instead of running around getting 0 kills in Apex for 45 minutes straight, I can, for 1 round, I can die 37 times on Cuphead. You have less pain, more gain, I think.
It sounds like you've been playing Apex with us. That's basically what happened when Dr. Z and I last time we played Apex, is we ran around until we got shot to death over and over again.
Well, I mean, I think...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get to the certain point, right? Where, like, have you ever gotten to a point when you're playing a shooter where you get so frustrated, especially as, like, an older gamer, you're like, you start trying all these ridiculous strategies. You're like, I'm going to be the sniper now. And you're like, dude, you're not going to snipe. You're not sniping anybody because you're just so frustrated. It feels like your internet is off by, like, a half a second. And really, it's just we're old and our eyes can't see that well anymore. And so we don't have the reaction time of a 19-year-old kid who's has the time to train on it. So yeah, that's where I got to. I'll get there. I'll be down. I have my KD ratio. Why don't you take one guess on my KD ratio in the Battle Royale section? I won't take too much time. Just take a guess.
Does it start with a 1 or a 0?
Yeah, 1 is like a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can do.
Okay. You're a 0.3
Okay, what's your guess?
I was thinking like 1 and 9, which would be about that same
So
at
what's
one point.
what's 1 and 9? 1 and 9 is 0.11. You're actually closer, Shelby. Yeah, I'm 0.16. My KD ratio in on Apex in the big map is 0.16. So like 1 and 8. So
So when
Nathaniel,
are you going pro?
dude, just like probably 5 more streams. I can feel it. I mean, it's just like once I get the internet dialed in, I get off that dial up, that 56K, we're going to be in it. But, Nathaniel puts me on his back and carries me. So we have a nice time.
How many times have you guys won with Nathaniel carrying you?
I think we actually have 3. I think we have 2 or 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Victory
I mean,
Royale. Okay.
There's a lot of bushes you can hide in. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bushes,
I was gonna say, because I come from the Nathaniel illegal gamer school of Apex playing, which is to hide, and for whatever reason, this doesn't work as well for me.
Oh, dude, he made a mention about this the other night when I was playing with him. He said that you and I have a similar play style. We just want to get in. I just want to I'm bored. I just want to get in the action and just like get in. Let's get on to the next game. But illegal here has he's got the patience. He's got the patience.
He's here to turtle up.
He is a good turtle up, man. Every time I'm like, dude, you're literally gone. You literally ran away, and like I don't need that anyways. I'm not winning a 1v3 already, so you're gone. You've created a portal, and you were on the other side of the map. The minute I always used to joke in the old Warzone days because I would say he's trying to win without firing a single bullet. Like he would rather die to the smoke. So, but either way, he's got a higher KD than me, so I can't say anything about it.
So when you launch, are you going to like a high? You're like going to the edges of the map where nobody else will find you?
No, I think that Dr. Z here and I have the same exact tactic, which is we jump out because I have no map knowledge and I literally point straight down. That's exactly what I do every single time. I launch immediately and I go, whatever is straight down, that's what we're landing on.
Shelby, I think you can verify that is indeed my strategy.
That is exactly right. Yeah, I like because we sit in the plane for a good 5 minutes and go, you be jump master. No, you be jump master. No, you be jump master. And it doesn't really matter who's jump master because we're just going to go straight down anyway. Like,
it's true. I have no map awareness. I'm not training on this. The new season's going to come out. It'll be the next game in 6 months anyways. So
you got to hop in when there's a new map, and then you'll be on even playing field there.
Yeah.
We got to go.
That's our best days are always the first day of a map drop when no one knows what's going on and it's only downhill from there.
Oh my gosh. Too funny. Well, let's do some news, huh?
Yeah, sounds great.
Let's do that. We picked a couple of news stories. If you want to see some more, then go ahead and throw them in the chat. But our first news story today here on the Speculation News Network is Squeenix to hold a few Western-made franchises. This story comes to us from Kotaku and basically elaborates on exactly that. Squeenix, they're doing some things, and they've kind of been disappointed in a couple of sales figures from Tomb Raider to the Marvel titles, including Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers. So not surprised that they're changing things up a little bit. It's always so hard to get a read on these people. You know what I mean? Like they'd come out and say, oh, we're super disappointed in sales, but then Guardians of the Galaxy is all over best of lists. So I was kind of confused leading in, so I'm not surprised that this continues to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, they sold a bunch of things, right? And they held on to a few of them. But this is similar to what we talked about. What we talked about last week, which is that different companies right now, right, trading around different IPs. Everybody's trying to figure out the secret sauce. Like, can we time out the new Tomb Raider game, right, for the next Tomb Raider movie when it comes out, whenever that is? Like, everybody's playing the chess game. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's all speculative. It's hard to tell whether it's going to be good or bad news. But, yeah.
I don't know. I've heard for so long that Squeenix has such crazy ideas about what a good selling game is that it's interesting to me that they're deciding to unload a bunch of studios and franchises rather than just revise their expectations.
Yeah, I mean, they also sold with this deal, what was it, Deus Ex, which I'm going to say is underrated. I liked that series only because the main character has one singular catchphrase, which is, I didn't ask for this. and he just is in angst the entire game. But yeah, I
Still
don't know.
better than Captain America.
It's still better than Captain America. I will agree with you on that.
Dude, Captain
Another-
America's getting some serious flack right now, man.
Yeah, well, you invite me on. That's what you're getting.
Dude, Captain America, actually, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Captain America is actually the nemesis in the new Doctor Strange movie. So strap
No.
in. Things are about to get, old Cap. He comes in, it's serious.
It's I can't even.
You hear that, illegal? We got to get our tickets now.
Dude, we gotta get your tickets now.
It's,
You heard it
it's
here first.
Serious. What was the movie that you sent me, the vampire movie? Oh, was it Morbius? Is that the one?
Morbius, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
man.
boy, that looks like hot
Oh,
garbage. We
you're
should
gonna-
see that sometime.
Should.
I can't do it, man. I can't do. I want to be the guy. I want to be able to just go and just enjoy a popcorn film. But first off, it's no longer a popcorn film when it's $100 just to get in the door and get your popcorn. But
Really good.
yeah, it's so funny that we ended up back on this same conversation that we had last week, which is like, dude, what? We're just doing, the Marvel's doing things I don't know anymore. I'm not familiar with these franchises. I don't know these characters. I will go see maybe the new Doctor Strange movie. I secretly like Doctor Strange a little bit.
It's because he's got that sweet Cumberbatch accent, doesn't he? He's like, oh yeah, this is me trying to do American. The Cumberbund accent, totally different accent. You don't have to charge that star, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's great.
Doctor Strange is one of my favorites. But real quick, I want to get back to this story because I think it's super interesting to like. So they sold this to Embracer Group,
Right.
which I guess are the same people that own THQ Nordic, and they're like a super group. So they actually they're bigger than like Blizzard Activision, and they also own Gearbox, which makes Tiny Tina. So, like, that's interesting. I'd never heard of them before. I didn't know that was like a mega group out there buying up content creators. Yeah,
and according to this story, it says Embracer Group will, if the sale is approved, get franchises like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and will be holding on to some key IPs, specifically Life is Strange, Just Cause, and Looter Shooter Outriders. So interesting that we brought up Outriders early in this cast too. But Embracer Group is getting bigger and bigger, it sounds like. And I think that's what we're finding is like these big entities are coming in and buying it all up. And there's had these huge, massive catalogs. Are we going to be seeing new IP based on all these purchases? Or are they just going to keep reiterating old IP until the end of time? Until we split in the multiverse.
I mean, you know how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. In this universe, I bet they will probably stick to just chugging out content based on the IP that they already purchased rather than create their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, that's why I think that we always have to take a break, right? And we have to play indie titles, like as gamers, right? We want to have the mainstream. And I often think about this quite a bit, right? Where there was way less titles out when we were kids and we all would be excited about the same game. And now there's so many games out there that it's hard for everyone to kind of come together and be like, oh, you know, I'm excited for that too. And I'm like the anticipation also, right? Sometimes these studios are releasing trailers like 4 years before they're even done with a game. And you're like, dude, why is so early? Like I'm gonna forget that this is already coming out. And I mean, Blizzard does that all the time, right? Like they're like, you see a trailer for Diablo 4 and you're like, okay, I'll see you in 10 years. Like I don't care how long it takes. I just hope that it's good when you put out the finished product. But yeah, it's hard to generate that excitement to get all the gamers on the same page because everyone is niched so much into like, oh, I'm doing this sort of niche, and I guess that's a good thing because everybody likes what they like. But at the same time, I do sometimes think about that, like, what's going to bring everybody together so we can all get excited about things again, and we're all waiting for the same title for the midnight launch, where we're waiting in line for Modern Warfare or for Oblivion or. Yeah, I think I'm looking that sense of community, that sense of, I don't know, it's tough. And when you see these IPs, right, like you see them all getting bought up, you're exactly right. They're gonna go with the safe choice. We're gonna invest in some new game mechanics. We're gonna do some rehashing of level design. It's like, dude, That's why we got to step into the indie games, get some fresh, personalized experience, and then
And I think my biggest fear is that, they're pumping so much money into these that they have to be a success, and that's why Squeenix is like, hey, we're disappointed in Tomb Raider. Hey, we're disappointed in these other franchises. Like, these are great games, but they've put so much time and energy into them that they think they're going to take over the world. And I just don't think that's the market that we're in right now. You alluded to back in the day when we were growing up where there was only X amount of games to play. Now the options are much more than they ever have been. Right. So for those big tentpole games to bring in like the Fortnite money, it's just not realistic. So I think they're going to have to pull back on those budgets or sell more games, which.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a game, right? That is like a masterpiece, right? So for me, a game that I would consider like a masterpiece, like Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Like I played that game, and it's like, yes, it's like it will go down to me as one of the greatest games ever made, just from a purely they got every detail, everything, the shadows, like when you're cold, the animals that are walking around. I had a situation where I was running around in the middle of the woods and like I was hunting this deer for this special deer skin. I don't know why I was doing that. I was away from my normal just blitzing through, but I was so into it. I was like following this scent, and I like was gonna go shoot at this deer, and then these like bandits rode by and they like scared the deer off, and then I got mad, so I just like went and killed them all. And like stuff like that was happening all the time in the game. But the point is that the game took like 10 years to make. Right. And so I do feel your fear where it's like you're going to see these people dump money into an IP, and then it doesn't meet expectations, and it's going to be like a Netflix show. It's like, oh, canceled. Like one season, we're not doing that. No one's into that. It's like, well, I mean, maybe, but maybe it's like you also didn't spend time developing it out, and like, right? Like, there's a risk reward there, I think.
Right. Yeah, and I think the thing that really scares me about Square Enix especially, and I know I keep going back to this, but you look at that Avengers game, and I'm a Marvel fan. Like, it's no secret. If you've been listening to this cast, I like the Marvel movies. I like the Marvel shows. And like finally an Avengers game that's coming out on consoles, this is going to be it. And that game was hot trash. Like, I waited for it to be free because I heard about the bad reviews, and I still didn't play all the way through it. After people said the single player campaign's great, I still couldn't get through it because it was so samey. So yeah, it's an interesting time that we are in currently. And speaking of people spending a ton of money on the future, let's talk about our next news story. Meta will reportedly release 2 new Quest VR headsets by 2024. I picked up the story because VR is so cool. It's the coolest. And this basically talks about 2 different units, one being more work-based and another one being a revitalization of what is currently the Quest 2, which I currently have access to. I like playing the Quest 2 quite a bit, but I'm also thinking about holding off and purchasing the next iteration when they come out with it. And it's alluded to here, saying they're coming out with 2 new ones by 2024. Meta's spending some money on VR, guys. They are pot committed on this.
Yeah, I actually love this story because I just bought my Quest 2, and this means that there's no way I'm going to buy another one because the new model that's coming out that's going to replace the Quest 2 is supposed to be like $800.
What?
So you're not going to get me for that. Like, that's just way too expensive.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when the competitor is $400 now, right? It's like $399. I think that's for the bigger hard drive. So I think the cheaper version is $299, I believe, which I think is a good point of entry based on the amount of software that they're offering. Do you think that there's a workplace application for this? Like, do you think that there is a way for this to integrate within big tech in the next 2 years? I guess at this point.
Yeah. 100%. And that's like Mark Zuckerberg's big thing. If you hear him actually talk about it, he's all about the workforce, what this is going to bring to like integrated meetings, right? Like distributed workforces. And I gotta say, like, I was pretty anti like metaverse. Like the metaverse has been around forever, right? It's just like a big buzzword now. So I'll say like VR or AR spaces at work. But after like using the headset, right? And Shelby, when you and I have played and like just chilled out in there,
yeah,
it really is a different experience than being on a conference call or talking on the phone. So I do see some benefits there. But also a lot of downsides. Like I don't want Mark Zuckerberg watching, like scanning my eyes, right? Like checking my pupillary distance to see if I'm engaged with the conversation or not. So,
Well, I do want that. I want my personal information sent to Mr. Zuckerberg. Check out how close I'm sitting to this screen.
Here's my question, okay? Because I am the VR skeptic probably of the group, even though I have never really used it. So I mean that gives me even more authority, right, to have an opinion.
Right.
What do you think is going to be the tipping point? What will need to happen for the tipping point for everyone to kind of get on board with using something like this? Because right now, right, when average consumers look at this, they're going to look at it like that's another peripheral, and it's like I think of all the other failed attempts at different things, right? Like I think of the Wii balance board, which I still have in my garage. I think of the PlayStation light up balls, where the PlayStation, which I never bought. I think of all the different things that I was like, the Kinect, which I never bought, right? Like I never had a Kinect because I'm not going to shout out the chants in Skyrim when I'm saying them out loud because it's 11:30 at night.
you're such a loser, Phil. You gotta shout your chants,
Gotta
bro.
grow up. Come on now. I wish you could use all those devices at one time and put that on film for me, please.
What kind of nerd doesn't use his Kinect?
Well, first I never had the Kinect. I immediately, like my buddy gave it to me. He's like, you can hook this up. I'm like, I'm not hooking this up.
When's your birthday? I'll wrap you mine.
I'll send you my address off
Okay,
chat.
deal.
What do you think?
What's the tipping point? I think this. I think the fact that they're gonna have to come out with a couple of consoles, they're gonna have to just kind of tweak the hardware they sent out with. I think the version that they have with the Oculus Quest 2 is very strong, but I still think it needs to be a little bit more accessible for individuals. You know, I know that they've speculated it within this next iteration. There's been certain sites speculating that it's going to have the hand tracking that's like built into the actual console, so you can just like come in, pick your hands up, and be
We have
in
that now,
world.
That's in the Quest 2.
Yeah, but it's not that strong. It's not. I've had issues with the software I've tried, and maybe it's just the software. Do you find it works pretty well, the hand tracking?
Yeah, but you know, I got those big hands, so maybe it's just like
I got those baby hands.
maybe it's the size of the mitts that's causing the problems there.
The size of the mitts, quote of the day.
Dude, it's not the size of the mitts, man. It's how you use them. Come on now.
I mean, I have watched some cool videos, right,
Yeah.
of different VR things, and you can see that you're getting really close.
Well,
right?
and I think like with this next, I think one thing that I find as a downside is the Quest 2 is that there's no camera on the handheld, right? So the controller, if I put the controller behind my back, it's not tracking it because it's not seeing it on the headset. So all of a sudden my arms are like lost in space. And I think that once they start tweaking those little details, it's going to get a lot more user friendly. Like, do I think my grandma's going to buy one of these and put one on? No. But I think eventually it's going to age in, right? Eventually we're going to get to the point where people are just hanging out in these spaces. And to be honest, I really thought that the VR community was going to thrive during COVID, and I don't feel like it blew up as big as I thought it was going to. I thought everybody was going to dive in when we were all quarantined stuck at home, but I didn't really see that in my communities. I don't know if you guys have different opinions. I can't quote you sales numbers, but I just felt like this was ripe and didn't get the exposure that I thought it would.
Yeah, I think you're right when you say that. I mean, maybe it's just like people were broke and they didn't want to drop $400 on a new peripheral or whatever it is.
Right.
But they did. You're right. There was a prime environment of like, hey, you're stuck at home for a year. You want to escape into another world. Like, there's your environment right there where like there's a platform. But I don't think it ever really took off.
No.
For me, I think it's the content too, right? Like, there's a few bangers of games that are a lot of fun to play, right? Like Beat Saber, or like we had a great time playing Keep Talking and No One Explodes.
Rec Room, yeah.
Rec Room, yeah. Paintball with 10-year-old kids yelling at you, yeah. But like for me, I mentally like set off a part of my brain. It's like, if it is a VR game that looks interesting, I'll buy it. Like, I don't care how much money I'll spend. The flip side of that is there's really just not that much interesting, so it's actually pretty cheap, right? Like, I feel like I've bought most of the games that I've been finding interesting, and I'm just waiting for the next things to come out. Like one of them that recently came out was City Skylines, which I loved on PC.
Oh.
Right, I've done hundreds of hours into that, but the idea of playing that in VR just like doesn't resonate with me. Like, it has to be a very specific type of game and experience that's going to get me excited about playing it in VR versus on my Switch or my PC or my Xbox. So.
And I think that's the other part, right? There's so many options right now. You can play on all those other devices at a drop of a hat or any title that's drawing your attention. One thing that I have found, and I would agree with you on the software, it's not quite there yet. And there's not like a must-have experience that you should go out and play right now. People have been yelling at me in our Discord to play Half-Life Alyx. I'll get to it. But also it's really hard as an adult to just like lock into your headset and veg for 3 hours. Like it's just not conducive to my lifestyle right now.
Roger. I mean, I think to piggyback on that, I think you're right. From all the video clips I've seen, right, you have really interesting, cool mechanics that are like, oh, this is cool. Like the ones that I saw were like people reloading guns, like pulling the clips out of guns. I've seen lots of clips like that. And you're like, oh, this is cool. Or I've seen the Star Wars one where you're in the level, right? And you have to deflect the bullets from the different things that are shooting at you. And those are really cool, individualized mechanics. Also, they've done really interesting things with like a scary, like you're in a room, right? Oh, that's interesting, specific for VR, right? To your point, Dr. Z, there has to be a specific type of game that is meant for a certain type of environment. Like you're not going to sit down and play a relaxing game on a VR headset. You're going to want something that's stimulating. You're going to want to be going, like that's the whole point of using the VR system. So, I mean, I could see that they could do something cool, like where you're in a canoe, right? Like that would be kind of interesting. And then you're in water while you're sitting on your couch. That would be kind of cool. But they do have to come out with some comprehensive narrative of like, here's the thing, right? Like, here's the game that you got to get this for. Then everybody's like, oh, I want to have that experience.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting to see. And I'm excited to see where the future takes us because there's a lot of things going on. And Phil was nice enough to drop a few questions for us. And we're going to do them. Questions of the day, or random questions, as we used to call these. These are not random.
You want to lead? You want to lead in, or you want me to lead? You want me to take it over?
That was excellent handoff there.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading the questions on my other screen.
No, it's all good. No, I think we should just pick a couple of these, right? I know we're approaching an hour, so let's just grab one. How has our relationship with gaming changed since we've gotten older? Well, I can no longer put a Virtual Boy on and play for 3 hours at a time and then return it after I get bored with a Virtual Boy.
I'm not familiar with what that is.
But Virtual Boy, Frank?
No, I've never played it.
Yeah, I still have my Virtual Boy.
No, you don't.
What is it?
It's in my brother's room, but yeah.
Okay, we're gonna break in and steal it.
I have no idea what that is.
Shelby, you got to put on a clip of the Virtual Boy. It's the original VR headset built from Nintendo.
Look at me. Well, seeing as I'm the anti-peripheral guy, I mean, listen, I sat on the stupid Wii balance board and did the meditation thing where the fly flies around you and you can't move. I did that. That's it, man. And Wii boxing, but that's about as far as it goes.
So the beauty of the Virtual Boy was it was super uncomfortable. It was kind of on stilts, right? So you had to like hunker down to get it to the right height for your head. And then it was all in black and red.
Yeah.
And it gave you some of the worst headaches of your life. And it was really short-lived.
Look at that. It even walks on its own, apparently. I had no idea.
It even walks on its own.
It even walks on its own. So I brought it up because it reminded me of the Oculus Quest, like version 0.1. You know what I mean?
I've never seen this. Holy cow. What a trailer.
I returned mine the same day I opened it because there is no way that I was going to be able to withstand the headaches that came with it. I think they had like a Mario tennis game. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Is that you? Okay.
I had tennis and I think boxing. I think there was a boxing game.
Boxing game? I mean, I feel like we're going to have to break this out and have you show us how it's done at some point.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a capture card for 1991's
Yeah, do you
finest.
have your
Yeah.
Elgato?
How I'm about to say, how many splitters are you gonna need to get that thing on?
Every splitter. Yeah, but they're exclusively sold at Radio Shack. So good luck. How has our relationship with gaming changed as we've gotten older? I gotta be like more particular with my time, I think is the way that I would say that, right? I think that if you've been listening to this cast for a while, you know that I am not a big JRPG guy. And the part of the reason is like it takes so much time to get through a JRPG. Like I just don't have the time. Like I'd much rather play like an action-based adventure, get through it in 10 to 20 hours, and then park it and say I've lived it and move on. Whereas back in the day, I would just burn hours in front of the TV. But turns out can't really do that no more.
Well, yeah, it feels interesting because, right, like all the things that we wished for, right, as gamers, it's coming true. Every game now, it feels like, has endless customization. Every game has minimum of 40 hours of side quests. And yet now here we are, right? Like it's 11 o'clock at night, dude. I'm going to bed. I'm getting old. I'm going to sleep because I need to go to sleep.
I gotta wake up tomorrow. Yeah.
And I do feel like as the gaming industry's evolved, when we were younger, it felt kind of niche, right? It felt like there were certain people that did that. It's like, oh, and then you would have this thing, right? Like, oh, you're a gamer, and people would be like, oh, not everybody does that, right? Like, oh, that's so cool. Me too. And then like I would say right around for me, it was high school, right? Right around Halo came out, and then the Xbox was there, right? And Halo came in. It was like, oh, this is becoming mainstream now. Like there was a big shift where everybody realized there's so much money to be made here on intellectual property. Let's just dump money into it. And it started to slowly become not as niche anymore. Now there's just all kinds of like, right, you have your people that like sports games, which is a big X for me. You have people who, right, all different categories of different people that play games, but it's evolved in an interesting way. And I just don't have the time. I think that's the big key component. It's like I want to be able to play an experience, but like I don't want it to. Here's the deciding factor for me. When I have to do chores in a game, I'm not playing it anymore. Like it's like you got to go bring this person this cup of water, and then they give you this key, and then you got to go over here and do this thing so you can get this sword. And I'm like, dude, I'm not carrying your water in a video game when I'm work. Like, what are you talking about right now? You know what I mean? So
Have
that's
you heard
for
of
me.
a game called Warcraft? Really good. You have to kill 3 rats to really get into it. It's a whole thing. So the whole branding and thought of like the Underpowered podcast is that we don't have enough time, we don't have enough energy, we can't get through all the games, right? So this whole thing was conceived with a conversation of, okay, how do you figure out what to play and when? And that was kind of the design, right? Okay, we're playing through this game is good, don't bother with that game. And I think that at the core is kind of something that I really value, right? I mean, you guys saw my list of games that I'm trying to work through every year last week, and I'm a little bit of a crazy person, but
Let me just interrupt and say,
I take it
like
seriously.
streaming moment right there. Okay, like I said to you last stream, that list was waiting for that moment last week to be revealed to everyone so that we could all share on this podcast what that list was about. I think it's super rad. I think it's super, super rad. I'm being
Dr. Z
serious.
knows my pain. He knows my pain.
Yeah, I've been watching you flagellate yourself with that list for a decade now. Like,
Dude,
yeah,
there's games on there from 10 years ago.
yeah,
That's the problem.
it's so interesting. Like that what they talk about, right, is like when you're a kid, you have a lot of time, not a lot of money, and then those things start to cross, right? And then all of a sudden you have more money but not enough time, and that just rings so true for me, right? Like as a kid, I would get 2 games a year, my birthday and Christmas, and I would play those like nonstop. Now, especially with Game Pass, right? Like I have an unlimited amount of content. I still buy games. I hardly ever finish anything, and part of it I think is like if it doesn't grab me immediately, I've got a billion other game and ice cream flavors to try. Like it's so easy for me to hop around, but I feel like that's also kind of a bad thing, right? Because I'm not investing that time, and even if I want to, like I'm like, oh, I really want to see how the story plays out. oh, well, there's a new release next week. Like that happened to me with Tiny Tina. Like, I was putting all my time into Triangle Strategy, really planned on beating it, but it's like, hey, shiny new thing, let's jump over, and then that sucked up my attention. So
yeah, and I feel like I'm transitioning away from Tiny Tina just because I know that I have that blockade. So I was like, oh, Guardians is cool, and I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But Guardians of the Galaxy is one that I've hopped into, and I'm really hitting my stride with that too. Do you guys ever just like think about like a retirement? Like one day we'll retire, hopefully, as long as the apocalypse doesn't happen, which 50-50 split at this point. But is your retirement plan just to play video games? Because I think that's mine. Like, forget golfing. I'm just gonna get a bad gaming rig, work out in the morning, and then play video games for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, minus the working out part, but I'm with you for the other part.
Well, you can't just sit at your computer all day. You have to just take care of the body a little bit to get you to the next level, right?
I mean, we'll see what the future holds. It's going to be a while before I retire. I'm hoping for one of those, like...
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
Let's retire early. I mean, we won't be able to afford video games, but at least we'll be retired.
That's right.
As long as I can afford my Game Pass subscription every year, I guess I'm good.
Right. We only have to sell 10 books, and then that's it. I have my subscription, and I'm done. I think for me, and I think about this a lot, as I'm 35 and I have a son, right, I think a lot for myself about legacy. I have a funny story where I think in our 30s, we start realizing our mortality a little bit more. Things start happening. And for me, when I was 30, I got heartburn for the first time, and I thought I was dying. And I've never had pain in my life. I was a chef. I was super hard on my body. I still like to drink. I like to do, and I had never had heartburn. And when I was 30, I woke up one day and I was stressed, and I had some tacos the day before, and I had the worst heartburn. It was bubbling in my chest, and I was like, I'm having a heart attack. And I actually went to the walk-in because my wife wasn't around, and I was like having an anxiety attack of like, what's going on? And then they listened, and they were like, you just have a really bad case of heartburn. But I think the point, so it's like kind of funny, right? I have a good laugh about it now because I had no perspective on having any sort of physical pain. But now that you start to realize those things, right? You start realizing, oh man, I really have to be selective of my time, like you said, Shelby, and so I really try to find a balance. Like things like this that we're doing now are particularly enjoyable to me because I think that sometimes I feel a sense of guilt of just like, especially having a son, just like working really, like going and got to do all these things and make these appointments tomorrow, right? My son's going to do his very first ever jiu-jitsu class. So it's going to be the very first class he's ever taken ever for anything. So like you got to get him there and get to work and go home and do these things. And so when I do have time to sit and relax, I feel guilty, like I should be doing something. So podcasts like this, where we're creating something, where we're both doing a thing that we enjoy and also making something that's going to be out there in the world, I think for me provides me with a lot of satisfaction. It's part of the reason I made some YouTube videos and streamed again. And because there's a balance between just like sitting around and just playing video games by yourself, which I love doing, but then also like making something for the public. So I don't know. It's a hard balance for me as I get older because I know my time is limited and I want to make some things before I go. So it's an interesting time.
And I think creation is huge. I think we're such a consumer society, right? I want to be watching the newest thing on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, or playing the recent game or hit all the games before we leave this big blue marble. But like, at the end of the day, like there's something to be said about creation, and there's fulfillment there too. So I appreciate you guys being here and creating together. This is episode 90. We did it.
Wow.
10 more. Holy
10
cow.
more.
And you're at 100.
More, and we'll be at the 100 mark. So yeah.
That was some quick math, Bill.
Didn't even need your abacus. Very nice.
I mean, it's only 10, right? If we can't, listen.
If I haven't verified it's 10 yet. We might need to back her up a little bit.
If I'm 35 and I can't, I never mind. It doesn't matter. Yes.
Hey, when you turn 35, you realize you're just not meant to do things.
If we can't do 100 minus 90 in like less than 1 second, just forget it. Like,
Just-
I'll just call my job and quit. Like, I don't need. That's it. Like, you guys don't need me. You can do way
Oh
better
my
than this.
gosh. No, you're on. You're a staple. You're 2 for 2 right now. You got to be here for the next 90, and then you can have a day off. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's all good. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me, making this happen.
Thank you. No,
Let's
thank
do it
you.
again. We'll do it
I
again
think we
sometime.
should.
Yeah. And
looking forward to it.
yes, definitely. And if you want more from us, the Underpowered team, you can find us on our social channels. Those will be in the attached description down below. Check us out on Discord. We're chatting. We're talking games. Feel free to leave us a review if you're listening on a podcatcher. 5 stars if you would be so kind. That is a wrap for this week. We are out. Play your games.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, how?